bat. I'll give you the number here in a second, but just call. You'll get a price within 2 minutes. And again, the deadline is January 15th. So call now. You'll save even more. Call 855-SHARE-40. That's 855-SHARE-40. 855-SHARE-40.
Dependable Lock Service is your source for replacement car keys, custom safes from Liberty Safe, and so many more lock and key services. With over 30 years of experience in lock and key industry, there's nothing Dependable Lock Service can't do for you. Whether you're looking for duplicate automotive chip keys, rekeying commercial and residential locks, or custom safe building, we've got you covered. Call 603-886-0559. Nashua's Dependable Lock Services, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
The sky's not the limit, it's just the beginning. I'm Ed Mullen from Nashua Aerial Advertising. There's no better way to advertise your business and or message than high in the sky. How can you make your advertising budget work for you? By putting your ads up where they'll stand out. The sky is an uncluttered, impressive venue. You can put your message over a region or location to target your desired demographic. Put your ads where they're needed. We provide coverage over communities through Merrimack Valley, Greater Nashua, Manchester, Lowell, and points throughout South Central New Hampshire and North Central Mass. Summertime beaches, sporting events, races, fairs, and festivals are all ready-made for banner telling. For more information, please visit us online at NashuaAerialAdvertising.com. And remember, the sky's not the limit, it's just the beginning.
Most social platforms throttle your reach, track your behavior, and decide what you're allowed to see. Audax does none of that. Here, you control the algorithm. Your posts go where you send them, without shadow bans, filters, or hidden limits. Audax doesn't spy on your private life. No one listens to your calls. No one monitors your searches. And because we don't take money from corporate advertisers, no one is manipulating what you see or how you use the platform. Audax is built for patriots who want a place to organize, speak freely, and push back against the issues facing America without interference. Freedom isn't free, but it's worth every penny. Join the Rise for Liberty project at audax1.com and take back your voice.
Tired of wondering where your money really goes? At Mammoth Nation, we built what was missing. The America First Marketplace. Every brand we feature is 100% American owned and operated, rigorously vetted for their values and committed to supporting our Constitution, law enforcement, and the American dream. When you shop with us, your dollar stays in the neighborhood, supporting families, veterans, and charities like Folds of Honor. No more sending your hard-earned money overseas to the companies that don't respect you here. Your dollar reflects your values. Your dollar, your values. Your America. Join Mammoth Nation today and be part of building a patriot economy by going to TruckersUnitedForFreedom.com affiliate page and hit that link. American built, America strong. Mammoth Nation.
The views and opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Welcome to the Common Sense Conservatives, a political discussion group about current events and other government-related matters every Wednesday evening from 7 to 8 p.m. Right here on WSMN 1590 AM, WSMN 95.3 FM, and streaming live on wsmn.live. Making sense of the inverted reality we are subject to every day. The Common Sense Conservatives are here to help bring you back to reality. Now, your hosts, Chris Wyatt, Todd McKinley, and John Groven.
All right. Hey, folks, welcome back to the Common Sense Conservatives. If it's Wednesday, 7 to 9 Eastern, right here on WSMN 1590 AM and 95.3 FM. It is the Common Sense Conservatives. Before we bring in our guests here, I'd like to go around the horn. John Grosvenor holding down the studio. John, how are you, kind sir?
Doing good here in lovely downtown Nashua, New Hampshire there, Todd.
Anything to report from New Hampshire politics by chance?
Hey, you know what? There was a town of Hampton, New Hampshire is a beach town here, and we don't get a whole lot of beach area, maybe 16 miles long, and that's it. But police chief there decided that if ICE decides to come to Hampton, he is not going to allow them access to his assets. In other words, he's not going to offer his services with his police force. However, Kelly Wyatt had already filled out the forms for ICE. I forgot what that form number is. It's like G287 or something. And so I know the governor's already filled out the form, and I also know Rockingham County, which Hampton is in, has filled out that form. So they will be getting some assistance somewhere in Hampton, New Hampshire. So
absolutely.
You can stick that one, where.
Yeah, police chiefs have less political of a leg to stand on than elected sheriffs do, by the way. So
exactly. And as a side note, Todd, I'd just like to say, Hillsborough County, which Nashua, New Hampshire resides in, and also Manchester, New Hampshire, two largest cities within the state of New Hampshire, that sheriff has also filled out that form. So yeah, if anything happens here in Nashua, we can count on some sort of assistance with ICE. So thumbs up.
Deal. Good deal. Yeah, better than Minnesota. Colonel Chris Wyatt, they're holding down the studio, his home studio there in Central PA. Colonel, how are you, sir?
I'm very well. I do have a bone to pick with Jean Shaheen as the incoming Viceroy of Greenland. I like to tell her to keep her nose out of our business. She and Lisa Murkowski can suck on polar bear turds as far as I'm concerned. We, the Greenlander population, do not appreciate her sticking her nose into this. She can go back to New Hampshire. Yeah, there you go. So I just want to share that at the outset of the program as the Viceroy of Greenland.
Viceroy has entered an edict to stay out of Greenland. There you go, New Hampshire.
Yeah, the law's been laid there.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you don't mess with somebody who wears sashes and medals and things like that for daily wear, right? I mean,
he's probably got a pretty broad sword he carries around when he's in Greenland.
Right, he has swords and other things. Yeah.
I do, and my cabinet is comprised of 2 Inuit, 1 male, 1 female, and every cabinet position is rolled into just 2 of them. We are a lean, mean Greenlandic machine, and the clown from Alaska can go home to her ice cubes, and Jean Shaheen can go back to stealing maple syrup from Vermont.
Yeah, Viceroy, I'm not Secretary of State today. She is, so let's blame her today. Tomorrow you can blame me. So they switch the job back and forth to mess with you, huh, Viceroy?
No. I've just we've rationalized this. So my Minister of Defense is in charge of border security, immigration, aviation, customs. My finance minister is in charge of finance and customs. There. It's all rationalized. So they got most of the portfolios go to 2 people. So they don't switch. They keep the same portfolios. But of course, being a true Greenlander, I realize that most of my population is Inuit, and I respect that. And that's why my cabinet is comprised of Inuit members and none of these interlopers from New Hampshire.
So how do the people of South Africa feel about you being Viceroy there? And this is an abandonment, right? You're still working with.
Well, there's a lot of broken hearts in South Africa tonight, but it's going to be okay because this is just a temporary position I've accepted for the transition of Greenland to U.S. territory. Once Greenland is firmly ensconced in U.S. territory and we've established multiple bases so that soldiers can freeze their gonads off, then we will switch back to South Africa, where the climate's a bit warmer. So, it's just a temporary thing. People just need to be patient. President Trump will get around to South Africa at some point. First, it's Venezuela, Iran, Greenland, the leftists in Germany, Keir Starmer, then South Africa's turn.
Yeah, well, immigration, as far as immigration is concerned, you're going to accept any of the folks fleeing South Africa, some of the refugees, perhaps?
We don't want them. We want them to go to America, and we don't want them to live in California. We want them to be someplace nice and comfortable. We're thinking Indiana or Ohio, mostly for all of them.
Okay, blend right in there for sure. All right, folks, we do have a guest tonight. We've had him on before, and we talked about bringing him back on for 2026 midterms, especially here in Tennessee. It's Eric Wyatt. He's out of Knox County. If he's available to pop in there, John, whenever you get him. Amongst his many hats that he wears, of course, he's not wearing a hat tonight. He is a political strategist there at the local and, of course, at the state level. And we're going to talk about, Tennessee politics, the local and, of course, state races, especially our gubernatorial race and what it means for the national stage. Because, Marsha Blackburn, our U.S. Senator, is running for governor. I'd like to know from Eric, what his thoughts are on that race. But we'll get to that in a minute. But, Eric, introduce yourself, if you don't mind, to our listeners and our viewers.
Sure. Thank you for having me back again. I appreciate it. I enjoyed being on last time, and you guys are already being entertaining this time. So thank you again for having me.
You're speaking to a viceroy, by the way.
Well, if I got to use proper titles, let me know.
Well, Eric, that's my first question before you introduce yourself. I'm just going to give you a cautionary note here. If you have any smack to talk about Greenland, we're going to cut you off. Okay, just let you know ahead of time.
We're cool,
All right.
man. We're cool.
All right.
Yeah, but as Todd pointed out, I'm a campaign manager, political consultant here in Tennessee. I've worked races from Washington County to Williamson County, but I'm mainly based in the Knox County area. And that is what I just focus on, local and state. I know a lot of consultants, work on federal elections and, work out of DC. That might be something I do someday, but it's not something I'm currently doing right now.
Well, there we go. Yeah. So quick thought about our gubernatorial race. I know I'm throwing you in the deep end right away.
Sure.
What implications do you think that it has on the national stage, given if Marsha does win, you're going to have an open Senate seat there. And what does that mean for Republicans at the national level?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, there's a lot of speculation there. A lot of people do talk about it because you have some heavy hitters that are definitely interested in the seat. You got Knox County Mayor Glenn Jacobs has expressed interest. Tim Burchett,
right,
current congressman for House District 2, has been very interested. I know some other people are interested in it too, like Congressman Chuck Fleischman. So
right.
If she does win the governor's race, that would be pretty interesting. But there's also been rumors about possibly if Haggerty goes to the TVA or doesn't run again, who's going to run for that. So we'll see. I mean, there's definitely people already eyeing it. And obviously that's all assuming that Marsha would win. There are other
assuming, of course.
Yeah.
Right.
And one of the ones that I'm a fan of is Monty Fritz.
We've had him on the program.
Yeah. Current state representative. So that's who I'm supporting. And, to the people that don't believe in long shots, I would say almost nobody thought Bill Lee was going to win in 2017. But even in Pennsylvania, I believe you guys had a Republican governor's race. If I remember correctly, a couple of you guys are.
Yeah, the colonel you're talking about.
Hopefully I have that right.
The colonel you're talking about is a friend of the show for sure.
Okay. Well, there you go. I mean, very similar.
He's a friend of Colonel Wyatt's, by the way.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to butcher his name, but we're talking about Mastriano, right?
Mastriano.
Doug Mastriano.
Mastriano. Okay. So
yeah,
I butchered.
there you go.
I mean, very similar.
I knew where you were going.
Both him and Monty Fritz are veterans. I think, what was it that he served in?
I was an intelligence officer in the Army, and his final assignment was as a professor at the Army War College, which matches my career. He was just 2 years earlier than me as commissioned officer.
Yeah,
but I had more time in the Army because I was enlisted.
yeah, pretty similar conservative outsider candidate. My understanding was underfunded. I mean, establishment had far more money, and so I mean, we'll see. Maybe Tennessee can do what Pennsylvania did. I think the one big difference, though, in Tennessee, pretty much the only thing that matters is the primary, right? I mean,
that's it.
5%
over in the primary
in 2022. Where in Pennsylvania, once you win the Republican nomination, now the real battle begins probably for you, or pretty
that's
similar.
So that's true. So
we'll see.
How do you think? Before I turn it over to the colonel, for who's got a slew of questions, how do you think the race in Tennessee is going to go for Monty? I mean, what's his pathway to victory? How do we get him across the finish line?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a good question. Another thing that didn't exist in 2018 was the grassroots, organizations like Tennessee Stands, Tennessee Conservative News. You got other conservative organizations. They did not exist in 2018. You had a lot of grassroots conservatives win their Republican Party conventions last year.
Right.
That was something that was not happening in 2018. So, one of the things I'm going to say is, there's a lot of potential there, and we don't know what's going to happen with it yet. Obviously, the reach that social media has is a big deal, and I believe that was one of the routes that the Republican nominee from Pennsylvania chose to, using social media. So we'll see. I mean, one of the things you mentioned, you were talking about the Senate race, what it means for national. I mean, one of the reasons I'm backing Fritz is if we do have another crisis in the next 5 years, right? Right. Whether it's something similar, economic, financial, political, another health crisis. I am convinced that Monty Fritz is the only candidate that is actually going to do something to protect our constitutional rights. I mean, the bottom line is Marcia is she's a good enough Republican, right?
Right. Good enough. Yeah. For the establishment.
That's it. Good enough. And in an extraordinary situation, I think she's going to fail, right? And when you look at how much the federal government has increased the debt, when you look at what she's done with J6, when you look at the swamp that continues to basically control Washington, D.C., despite everything Trump is doing to fight it, I think she's a contributing factor to that. And she's going to be a contributing factor to worsening things if we have a crisis in the next 5 years. And we are looking at a governorship. Look, the governor races right now in every state, they are going to be post-Trump governors. So get ready. Hopefully we get JD or maybe some other people like Ron DeSantis or whoever, but we don't know that. And so we are all looking at post-Trump governors. So we better get serious about our choices in every state.
I agree with you. Colonel Chris Wyatt's going to take over some questioning for you. Don't worry. He's not going to throw them at you too hard. I can swear to that.
Well, there's 18 governors up this year coming up for election for Democrats and 18 for Republicans. So it's a pretty even mix there. And looking at the map here, it looks like many of these are holds for each party. It doesn't look like there's too many gains going on here. Tennessee obviously is going to stay Republican, whether it's Rose or it's Marsha Blackburn. We'll see. But 2026 is shaping up as a time when the press are certainly trying to push the narrative that Democrats are feeling strong about their chances to retake the House and even the Senate potentially is what they're claiming. And they're basing this on bizarre data. I'm not really following this. They're looking with encouragement at having won a race in New Jersey last fall, having won a race in New York City last fall, and having won a race for Virginia last fall. Eric, I mean, none of those were surprises to me as a conservative. I didn't expect that Democrat racists would vote for a black veteran woman to be the governor or be the representative there or the governor in Virginia. That didn't surprise me at all. And it was a foregone conclusion that Mamdani is going to win in New York because of the way the Democrats have just run that program. None of these were a surprise, but they're taking succor from the fact they think they're going to actually win in the fall. But I'm looking at the president's position on immigration, and 73% of the people are supporting the deportation of criminal alien invaders in polls. Not that I pay much attention to polls, but it is out there. And we already have an economy that's growing at actually almost too fast a rate. 4.3% for an economy of this size is a shockingly high figure. A good, healthy growth for this country, 2.4 to 3.2%. That's a perfect sweet spot where it's not too fast for inflation, not too slow for growth. But 4.3 is fast. And that's even with the interest rates still high by the Federal Reserve and with all the tariffs put in place. Imagine this year when the tax benefits start rolling in for Americans and the economy by October presumably will be rolling along pretty smoothly and Americans are getting jobs, people are doing better. I don't know what the Democrats are hanging on to. Are you seeing something, across the country, maybe in Tennessee, where these people, I think they're delusional at this point. I don't see anything that supports their argument.
Well, I mean, doing what I do, I would be a little bit cautious. I agree with your assessment that we cannot use New York City and New Jersey as examples. But let me give you one example in Tennessee of the Congressional District 7, right? That was the Afton Bain and Van Epps. Okay. Yep. That is a district. I mean, I might be a little off here. Mark Green got about 59, 60% last time we ran. And this time, the person won by, I think, 9 percentage points. Van Epps did, right? Republicans actually lost early voting in that. That's not something a lot of people know. And then Republicans just swamped it on election day. And I think one of the factors were how involved Trump was and others on social media. I mean, pretty much every national social media account was talking about Tennessee District 7, right? And Trump went beyond what he usually does. So, if Trump does what he says he's going to do and go out there and campaign in November 2022, November 2026, like he did in 2024, I think Republicans will do well, but he's going to have to do there. He's going to have to hit the campaign trail like his neck is on the line because, I mean, let's face it. I mean, there's some, truth to that, right? I mean, whether they try to impeach him or just dead end his agenda, but he's going to have to get out there and campaign, because I think he was a huge factor in turning out the vote on election day in Tennessee District 7.
No, I think you're 100% correct in that, Eric, and I don't disagree at all. But what I would say is that I think it's incumbent on Republicans to also get out there. For instance, in Pennsylvania, Republicans won the early vote, contrary to what people were saying. We just rolled through this in no small measure owing to Scott Presser and a handful of other activists in the eastern part of the state, particularly in Lancaster County, and then over in Philadelphia County, a place like that, where really turned out a lot of Republicans, and the Amish too, but not just exclusively there. They had a major impact here in Pennsylvania, and also they had a major impact in Virginia. In changing things. I think it's also incumbent on Republicans on the ground. But I agree with you. Without President Trump, it's going to be a problem. But I think the Republicans have to get out and get off their butts and get the job done.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And let me say one thing to back that up. These special elections, these local elections, we're the low propensity party right now. Our people don't vote. Some people were critical of the campaign Van Epps one, but I've said it before. I think even if you had a well-run, perfect campaign, right, you're going to win that district plus 12. I mean, that's it. That was a perfect Republican campaign, even though Mark Green won it by, plus 20, or Trump won it by plus 21. That was probably the best you were going to do in that district. But, I mean, regardless, Republicans have to get out and vote. We have to understand that the more local is more important. And we just cannot we got to get rid of this fantasy where Trump can just fight these battles himself. I mean, it blows my mind. We got these super pro-Trump voters who just do not have his back when he needs it on building the team that he needs.
Yep.
But I think he can change that by getting out there.
No, I agree 100%. And that's where the problem arises. This is it. I mean, unless he becomes the viceroy of America, this is it. I mean, he doesn't get to go any further. And even if he somehow magically goes beyond that, which I'm not calling for, he's 79. The man needs to take a break at some point, or go, make me rich with Truth Social. Take a pick there. But the bottom line, not that I have any shares in it, but listen, he won Tennessee by nearly 2/3. I mean, 2/3 of the vote nearly in Tennessee. It is a wash in Republican and conservative votes, with the exception of Shelby County and, of course, Davidson County. That would be Memphis and Nashville, two leftist outposts in the state. So let me shift the gears a little bit here, Eric, and ask you, in the midst of what's happening once again in the leftist fantasy land of the great, wonderful 10,000 lakes of Minnesota, where all bad things seem to come from, we have nonsense in Minnesota again, where 1,300 convicted felons were released into the streets rather than turned over to we lost Eric.
Oh, cracky. Well, Eric will pop back in here in just a second. But
okay, well, I'll hold off then, so I don't want him to miss this. So
you're
oh, he's back. There he is. Yes. All right, Eric, you're back. All right. So I was saying that in Minnesota, this leftist fantasy land of Minnesota, which started this crap with George Floyd a few years ago, the city of Minneapolis released 1,300 convicted felons into the streets of Minneapolis that were supposed to be turned over with extradition orders already, final deportation orders, turned over to ICE. They refused to do it. This is why we sent 3,000 agents into Minneapolis to catch these 1,300 people. And these people, I'll tell you what, Eric, before long, we're going to have more of these idiots with pink and blue hair arrested and in prison than the criminal alien invaders they went there to collect, by the way they're behaving. Is any of this something that is going to find its way, or is it seeing any manifestation in Memphis or Nashville? Because especially Nashville seems like an ideal place for this sort of stupidity to happen.
There's been a lot of immigrants in Nashville recently. It's something a lot of people talk about. I'm not really sure what's going on there. Obviously, Memphis was one of the first places they did a task force, a federal task force, which the state supported. But I mean, even in Knoxville, we see it. In red states, for going back to local elections, illegal immigration needs to be the top issue. I mean, every sheriff candidate, mayor candidate, county commissioner candidate, you need to be asking them two things. Are we going to get in the 287G program, right? And if they're already in it, make sure they're getting in additional programs, right? There's three models. You got the jail enforcement model, you got the task force model, and you got the warrant model. And like, for instance, in Knox County, we're in the jail enforcement model, but there's commissioners and others that are pushing for the task force model where, the local police can be more proactive on this issue. We got to help the feds. And DeSantis in Florida are doing a great job. I think they've reported definitely over 10,000, possibly even 20,000, people detained. And Tennessee, we have, I think, 3 counties that are part of the task force model right now, and only 40 counties that are out of 95 that are actually part of 28.7G. That's a huge problem. You just pointed out we're winning 2-1 for Trump, and we don't even have the majority of counties in Tennessee part of 28.7G. That's just, Republicans should be throwing elected officials out of office over this issue, the ones that refuse to join.
Well, I agree with you 100% on that one. That's exactly what should be happening. It's a bit frustrating to see people put the right people in office and then local officials not implement the policies to support them. It's unbelievable what some of these folks are doing. I saw the President Trump announced finally, I thought we'd done this already. They're not going to fund sanctuary cities around the country. I'm sure there'll be an American Criminal Liberties Union challenge to that or something like along the lines, some sort of lawsuit. But that's fascinating to see that that's coming. So what do you think the issues are for this coming midterm? The Democrats are running on this affordability thing, but if you explain things to people in a simple fashion, it doesn't hold any water. Inflation held at 2.7% last year, which is the lowest it's been for several years. Of course, we had outrageously high inflation rates under the Biden regime because their war on energy to start and then their feckless foreign policy. But they talk about affordability. I would imagine that for Republicans, it would be the criminal alien invaders and getting that under control, as well as the burgeoning economy, which is getting better and better, the reinvestment of $20 trillion being onshored back here for manufacturing production by all these companies, and how the tariffs have actually turned out to be a net plus, at least for the moment, for the United States. I think those are issues. I think the 2 things that the Democrats are probably going to focus on these midterms are this so-called affordability story, which is nonsense because everything cost half as much before Biden became president. Trump didn't raise the prices. And then the second thing is they're going to go on about this Unaffordable Care Act, which is nonsense because they're using our taxes to subsidize people, many of whom were kicked off insurance programs because the insurance became unaffordable because of the pre-existing conditions requirement that forces insurance companies to pay millions of dollars out to people that they wouldn't normally insure. So I think it's the Unaffordable Care Act and then the affordability. What are your thoughts about which each side is going to push for the midterms?
Yeah, I think you're right about what the Democrats are going to do, but the Republicans got to take it seriously. Perception is what matters, and voters tend to punish the incumbent party. And sometimes if whoever's just the incumbent presidency party, right? That's like the whole historic thing with midterms. We got to keep continuing to make gas prices go low. That's a huge factor. I think Trump is doing outstanding. But the other thing is just illegal immigration, right? The rental prices, the home prices, we can drop so much by just deporting. Really this year, when you look at how much we gave to ICE last year, right? The whole big budget deal, and we had to get it through because of illegal immigration. We need to have millions of people deported this year by November. And if we don't, I think we're going to lose. I think Republicans need to get very serious about deportations, quit the garbage about we're only going after the worst of the worst. Just quantity, just get quantity, and you will drop the rental prices. You will drop home prices. Either way, the liberal media and the Democrats are going to attack us on this issue. They're going to be like, oh, this person really didn't commit any crimes. We're already being attacked, and they are focusing on the worst of the worst, mostly. But just deport, show up to job sites, just deport, grab everybody. That's really going to solve your issue, because once you lower that demand, American citizens will be able to fill in the spot with jobs. We're seeing it in the job reports, right? The whole thing was no Americans wanted to work, right? And what have we now seen with these job reports? Hundreds of thousands of foreign-born people have lost jobs. Hundreds of thousands of Americans have taken those jobs. Completely false. This is what the elitists have always told us, that Americans just don't want to work.
No, it's absolute nonsense. I remember doing a postgraduate program with Troy University years ago. This was a distance education program. I was working with the Defense Intelligence Agency. And the debate, this is over 20 years ago, and the debate was, well, we need illegal aliens to pick our crops. And I said, well, are you not offended by your soft bigotry? You think it's okay to exploit people who are illegal and pay them below market wages? And also, what about the people who are crowded out of the job market? Frankly, I'll pay $5.80 for a pint of raspberries if they're picked by Americans with a living wage. I don't have a problem with that, and if I can't afford it, then I'll eat fewer raspberries. I'll just eat them less often, as simple as that. I think you're onto something there that I've talked about quite a bit, and that's 30 million plus criminal alien invaders that have no business in this country, whether they're committing crimes or not, have already committed a crime. They're felons by crossing our border and violating our sovereignty. That's number one. Number two, they're occupying jobs that Americans could occupy, depressing wages because many of them working illegally. And number three, they're crowding our emergency rooms. They're crowding our hospitals. They're sucking up our services for dentists. And at the DMV, we're standing in queues with people who aren't even Americans who have no business in this country standing there. And once these people are removed, the demand for housing will be eased. There'll be more housing available. There'll be more public services available, and things will be a lot smoother. And I think that is a hidden value in the economy that people aren't talking about, Eric, and you've just touched on. I think that's a point that maybe Republicans should talk about.
Yeah, everything's downstream from that. I mean, you just got to mass deportations, and that'll help lower the cost of everything else. And we got to help from the federal. It can't just be the federal. I'm going to come back to this. Every single Republican voter, if you are in a red county or a red state, you should be asking all your local elected officials, are we in 28.7G? And if so, are we in the task force model? And if they can't answer yes to both of those questions, you got to put pressure on them to get involved in those programs.
It was fascinating because a few years back, the Obama administration was accused of militarizing, and Bush before that, militarizing police forces with armor. Yeah, that's where you're going, I think, Todd, with armored personnel carriers and stuff like that. Isn't it ironic how they forgot about it was Obama who equipped many of these police departments with the resources that they're not even using these days. Many of them are just sitting by idly allowing this stuff to happen. Frankly, what's happening in Seattle and Portland and also in Minneapolis is disturbing. I mean, I can't imagine being a law enforcement officer and having an idiot like Bob Day as my chief of police in Portland. Well, it turns out they were a prostitute and a pimp. We thought they were a married couple. Oh my, can you believe that nonsense? These people gaslighting the American people. Oh, they shot an innocent married family. I have the footage of CNN lying about it. No apology, no retraction. And then he had to get up and stand there and cry, this ginger-haired little wuss, a couple days later. Did you see that, Eric?
No, I missed that. Sorry.
You missed out. You need to go watch the footage on that. Bob Day, the police chief of Portland, gets up and he's in tears crying. And it's just like the videos. If you watch the videos, like I watched a French broadcast from the COVID era where they're all standing up there at the podium. They don't think the cameras are on. The cameras are recording. And they're like, okay, now put your mask on. And they all put their mask on and they do the press conference. It's just like that. He starts, and he just starts answering questions.
It's run out of tampons, Chris.
That's Tim. Don't bring Tim in this conversation.
Yeah,
That's
Timmy didn't have any tampons for him. What's going on?
Tim, the stolen valor warrior. Yeah, but Eric, what's your thoughts? Can we retain the House, and will we retain the Senate?
You were saying, what's my thoughts on what? I'm sorry, I missed that.
No, it's okay. I was saying that, sorry, Johnny got all wrapped up in Tim Walt's conversation. So I'll say that again. I won't repeat because that means another round of artillery. So I'll say again, your thoughts on the Republicans' ability to retain the House this fall and retain control of the Senate.
Look, I'm hopeful that we win. Again, I think if Trump gets out there and he campaigns for the final 2 or 3 months, like he does when he's doing his presidential election. Let's get the rallies, let's get, Scott Pressler. Let's get Turning Point. Let's get who's in. I'm trying to think of another name.
Robbie Starbuck?
No, well, I mean, just organizations that are dedicated to turning out the vote, just get those. I mean, that's all that matters, right?
Grassroots. That's what you're getting.
Yeah, that's it. Like getting the grassroots out there. But another thing too, I think Republicans get wrong that I think Democrats get right is we're always focused on the battleground, right? And so in Pennsylvania, you guys get a lot of attention, right? We don't. But look at some of the votes we've had recently where Republican congressmen are not supporting Trump's agenda, right? They need to be primaried out, right? And if you are in a red state, and you have someone who's not supporting Trump's agenda, I mean, they should be gone. Find someone to run against them. I mean, that's it. It's just it's like it's the whole cliche that I hear a lot of Republicans say. The Democrats are so united, right? Advancing the radical Marxist agenda. And here we got Republicans, that are voting with the Democrats. And it's like, what's going on here? It's just crazy.
Well, it's concerning how they're doing it, right? I mean, why would they be voting against Trump on the War Powers Act? Now they want to raise a question about the War Powers Act and change it and disempower Trump. And so many Republicans are sliding against him on it. They're going against him. Why? He's doing a good thing. I mean, that really wasn't an act of war going to Venezuela, was it? It was a police action. That's what we did. We performed a police action.
Right, and moved out.
It wasn't even police action. It was an extradition. That's what it was.
Right. Yeah.
It was an extradition.
And shouldn't the left be happy that we brought somebody from a foreign country in here, right? And if we did it illegally, they should be praising it, I think.
Especially Venezuelans. We got 6,000 on temporary protected status.
One more, you know what I mean?
The irony of it is if you're European, you're on stolen land. And if you're Somali or anyone else who's come here, it's like, let's roll out the carpet and give you as much welfare programs as we can. It's just insane. They're delusional. But look, here's what Republicans need to understand about the left. There's nothing that makes sense about their agenda because their agenda is only chaos. It's only about destruction. They hate Christianity. They hate white people. They hate America. They hate freedom. So you got to from their perspective, right? This is how they think. You got to tear down the system to rebuild it. There's no reform. And so, this is where you get things like the abolition movement where they want to abolish prisons, dismantle local police forces. I mean, that's a real thing on the left. We have candidates in Knox County that have publicly, stated things like that in the last 5 or 6 years. It's just absolutely insane. But they're not a serious party, but it's seriously a problem how many votes they actually still get.
Right. So. And that's the serious part about it is how many people actually come out and vote for them. Not their ideas. Their ideas are horrible, and ridiculous, but the people that vote for them, that's the problem.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm not going to speak to other states. I believe there's ballot integrity issues, but what I can say in Knox County, Tennessee, we still get tens of thousands of people that vote for just Looney Tunes. And it's just absolutely crazy.
It is. It's backcrap crazy is what it is. It doesn't make any sense, and I don't understand how people glom onto the Democratic Party thinking they're for them. They betray every group that they glom into. It doesn't matter whether you're gay or trans or black or Hispanic. They turn on people, and the moment you have any comment that makes sense and opposes them, boom, you're the bad guy. It's an all or nothing. These clowns, they're absolutely ridiculous, and they go for the most crazy things. But the good news, Eric, is that. We'll see what happens in the Supreme Court. Of course, I mean, maybe somebody should give Ketanji Brown Jackson a sedative so she could sleep through these hearings because she's adding nothing to them. But aside from her idiotic inability to describe a woman, which I think, a 10-year-old can do. But we've got two opportunities here to really slam this back in the face of this leftist movement. And that's with the boys and girls sports decision that's about to be rendered, as well as the tariff decision, which I'm going to get Eric's take on this in a second. But in my view, Trump has not violated the law. He is adhering to a law passed by Congress decades ago. The question for me then isn't whether he's adhering to law, it's whether the law is constitutional. And that's what I think the Supreme Court should be deciding. We'll see what they decide, but there's two opportunities here to shove this back in the face of the Democrats. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to win on the boy and girl sports. I don't really know about the tariff. I mean, I'm not educated enough to know about that. What I will say is that will be a pretty – that'll be a shame if they do say we have to give all the money back. If we can't even have a country that makes economic policy like that, I mean, that would be a shame, especially with all the positive that has come out about the tariffs. And you said it earlier, and you were absolutely right. All the elites were just telling us the sky was going to fall, right? And exports are up, imports are down. 600 plus billion, it's probably created jobs. I haven't seen anyone haven't seen a study directly making that link, but it's probably likely created jobs locally. And for the Supreme Court to be able to, overturn that would almost make me question if they're the ones that are overreaching there, when it comes to that. But, I'm not a legal expert, so I wouldn't know.
Well, I'm with you on Eric. That would be overreach for the court, but it wouldn't be the first time they overreached. Plessy versus Ferguson is separate but equal, was not constitutional. They did it. Although as a young man, the Obamacare wasn't legal, the Social Security wasn't legal. First, they argued it wasn't a tax. Then they challenged it as a tax, and they said, no, it's not a tax. It's retirement.
So speaking of taxes, here's one thing I would say. Let's go back to the affordability issue.
Yeah.
Get rid of the income tax. Be done with it. I mean, that would be so great.
Are you talking about personal income tax?
Yes, be done with it. That should be in the Republican Party platform. Let's zero it out, and then let's start working on constitutional amendments to get rid of it. That is something Republicans should be running on for affordability issues. I do know there's a lot of Americans that don't pay it, but there's still too many that do. And to have that zeroed out on our income taxes, I think for a lot of people, they would love to see that. And that would be a huge affordability issue. And let's just face it. Here's another thing Republicans get wrong. They want to talk about Somalis in Minnesota and Ohio. I mean, it's all fraud, right? I mean, that was the whole Frederick Bastiat talking about the great fiction, where you're taken from one person and you're given to another. Right. And it's all fraud. And I think it's happening everywhere with the daycare centers. I lived in East Knoxville, predominantly Black community, for about 8 years. I used to drive by a daycare center over here. Never once saw kids. 8 years, and I used to drive by almost every.
Was it a Leering Center by chance?
Yeah, I don't know if it was that franchise, but it's all fraud. And here's another thing people have pointed out about these. And again, I was in. If you look at the census data, overwhelmingly single parent households, overwhelmingly on welfare. So let me understand this: you got a huge percentage of households that are on welfare, but they're sending their kids to the daycare center. Why? Explain that one.
They're not working. Why can't they raise their kids?
Absolutely no sense. And then another thing, you're in a daycare center and how expensive it is. But regardless, the point is, if they're on welfare, if they're at home, who is in that category sending their kids to the daycare center? It just makes zero sense. And Republicans, I get it. It's easy to go after the one group in Minnesota because the fraud is so blatant and someone exposed it, but I think it's everywhere. It's all 50 states.
Yeah.
Well, before I hand this over to John, I'm going to come back to the point you talked about getting rid of the income tax. While I empathize and agree 100%, I don't know that's practical unless you shrink the size of government significantly, because 42% of the revenue is coming from income tax on the average year. So that's almost half the money.
But you got all that extra money to spend, man. So you'll be putting it back into corporations, but the corporate taxes will increase and the government will benefit.
I think the quick answer in this one, maybe this is where Eric and I disagree a little bit, because I'm happy to pay no tax because we pay plenty of other taxes, but I just don't think it's practical right now until we trim the size of government, trim the size of these benefits in the years. But the one thing we can do immediately, which a lot of people don't agree with, but I agree with, is remove the federal corporate tax. That corporate income tax, basically you're double and triple taxing people. You tax the profits of the corporation, and then you're taxing the profit, the money, the income received from dividends or capital gains by the people that invest in those companies, and you're taxing the income of the people that work for them. It's ridiculous. Stop the corporate. It's a lot lower percentage of the federal budget, and it's manageable, and it's a pathway to eventually get rid of taxation at the individual. John, why don't I hand it over to you? And Eric, if he wants to respond to that, he can.
Yeah, I mean, just politically speaking, if you're talking about cutting corporate taxes or dividend taxes, I don't think that's going to appeal with a populist message. And so, again, I think, when you're talking about cost of living, we got to appeal to populism there. When populism intersects with conservatism and freedom, that's the route we need to go. And so that, that's all related, right? Gas prices going down, you eliminate the income tax. You remove mass numbers of immigrants. You drop housing prices. That's going to appeal to the populism of it all. And, look, I think ultimately the way you force government to reduce spending is reduce revenue, right? And to the point that was made, if you eliminate the income tax, people will spend more money locally. That will raise sales taxes for local and state governments, which will be able to fund more things themselves, which would be better than the federal government. And then the other thing for the job creators out there, they would be able to, the job creators that pay personal income taxes, they would be able to hire more people, expand their businesses. And again, so I think we would see a lot of the revenue gained, but in a different, more effective, more efficient way.
Well, I'll entertain the campaign banner of eliminating the income tax, but then I'll plan on an off year between the midterms, removing the corporate tax.
We get both of them out of the way.
And cutting. Well, we won't get the income tax, but cutting federal spending by 10% across the board, because corporate income tax only accounts for 6% of the federal revenue stream. So that's easily done. Every branch of the federal government could cut 10% overnight. John, you got any questions before we run out of time for Eric?
Yeah, I was sitting there wondering social dynamics and stuff, with the left being the left. Do you think that the schemes the left will pull off during the course of this year may affect the outcome of the election? What I mean by that is they're prone to rioting. Now they're out there talking about, well, the right keeps talking about using their guns to fight tyranny. It's time we pick up guns. And so do you think they'll do this to use and control the narrative as the election progresses, to keep their focus in on them and their issues and their agenda?
Yeah, absolutely. And their allies in the liberal traditional media is going to do every talking point for them too and reiterate it. And unfortunately, there's too many people in the oldest of the generations. That's all they're getting is that news, right? Which is unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, absolutely, they're going to do it. It's a huge problem. Republicans got to stay vigilant. I mean, let's face it. I mean, look what happened in 2020 with COVID, right? I mean, that was absolutely insanity. We probably couldn't imagine that happening 8 years ago, that, if everything that played out. And when you look at it, just how rapidly they did all these things, right? These massive number of mail-in ballots, shutting down churches. I mean, who would have ever thought 8 years ago, shutting down churches? Big box offices can stay open, but small businesses have to stay closed. Your job is not necessary. I mean, it's just all these things. It's just unbelievable how fast they pulled it all in 2020. So absolutely. And another thing Republicans got to do, and I think Elon Musk is doing a great job of this, is stop funding these liberal nonprofits, and because they're also the ones pushing that narrative. All the narratives that the left want, Republicans are so stupid. We actually give, in Tennessee alone, we give hundreds of millions of dollars. At the federal level, we're doing billions of dollars. I mean, right now in X, they're talking about the NED. These are left-wing organizations, liberal organizations, and we give them taxpayer money, our enemies, and then they come back and they fight us. I mean, we're just so stupid. And the only explanation that makes sense, and Burchett talks about this too, is you got enough Republicans, liberal Republicans, that are getting a cut of the pie. And maybe it's only 20% of the pie, but it's enough that they keep the grift going. And it's just Republicans got to shut it down. And even if there's an argument, I was talking with a state legislator in Tennessee recently, and he was arguing, well, this nonprofit, they're helping us do this thing, and it was, for health and public safety reasons. I said, yeah, but you open the door to all these other nonprofits, and is the cost worth it? And I'm going to say no, it's not, and we just got to shut it down. And if it's really something we need to do, let's do it at the smallest level possible.
Yeah.
And here's the most thing. If nonprofits provide value to a community, they will get private donors.
You would think, but the problem is nobody vets them, right? So any idiot can open up a 501c3 organization. You don't have to have a business degree. You don't have to prove any credentials. Anybody can, in fact, BLM proved that, So, and then you get, like you said, grant money. And they just shovel this grant money out to these nonprofits, like you're talking about, without vetting, without checking them. The only way they find out, I think we just found out in Minnesota, is somebody was a private citizen that discovered this and had a realization that said, hey, then he reports it to the OIG, and then an investigation comes along. Otherwise, it would go undetected.
Hey, John, let me break in for just a second. We got some breaking news here, just published in the last 3 minutes, that Josh Hawley and Young from Indiana have turned ranks and voted against the War Powers Resolution to limit President Trump's actions in Venezuela. Of course, the vice president is the tie-breaking vote. So that effort to undermine the executive branch has died on the vine.
All right, good deal.
Nice. So there's also other organizations like the American Bar Association creates a packet for these 501c3 organizations, and in this packet they create the rapid response. And do you think that maybe these 501c3s in states like Minnesota are using the rapid response hotline to look like something that's on the level? It's rapid response to show up with attorneys and be there right at the point of arrest so they can help these guys out and processing. But they're using them to dispatch people with whistles and automobiles to block and interfere with police business. So what I'm saying is it goes further than that, it goes deeper than that. Do you see this? The Catholic Church does it. American Bar Association does it. Have you been seeing that?
I mean, I think it's a huge web. I don't know that I've like actually seen that specific thing, you know, or that connection. You know, you mentioned some of the organizations or attorneys involved. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if the attorneys are involved. I mean, that's another thing like the Republican voters have to get smart about. You know, in Knox County, we'll get conservatives to run for judge, and then the liberal attorneys group will score them very bad as like being incompetent, you know, and then they'll score the liberal judge, and we get Republican voters who don't know any better, and they vote for these liberal judges and activists, and so we just got to be smarter, you know, as Republican voters. You know, look, if your local attorney bar association is recommending someone and not recommending the other, you know, chances are you probably want to vote the opposite way, you know, unless you do a Google search and find out that attorney just got, you know, arrested or debarred,
right.
You know, barred, you know, but I mean, just, we got to get smarter, you know, that's it.
So what was our best avenue during the course of the year for the average citizen out there to participate? I mean, is it about exposure? Should we be trying to expose these people for the contradictions?
So, you know, that's a great question. And, you know, you really got to do what your passion's about, right? Because I do talk to local people and they want to do the culture thing. They want to do the media thing. And if that's something you're passionate about, I will say to this, though, that there's a lot of people already out there on social media that are doing that, right? And you know, I wish some of them would pay attention more to their own state and their own backyards. I mean, that's the issue. And then the harder thing is, like, for instance, X, if you're talking about local, it just seems like you really can't get a good traction there, you know, at least based on my experience. Where like Facebook, you can get a better one if you're talking about local. But I think ultimately people don't wait until 3 weeks before an election to get involved. Show up to your Republican local meeting, your conservative, you know, local meeting. Maybe you got a gun group. Maybe you got a pro-life group, you know, a biblical citizenship class or whatever. Show up to that now, right? Months before the election, so that you know, and be a little humble about, you know, your expectations there, and you know, just learn and then get plugged in so that when they start door knocking 3 months, 2 months, you know, before an election, you can get plugged in then. And so that's what you're doing in the quote, you know, off season kind of, you know, related to your question.
Right. It never ends. You got to always stay diligent to it.
Yes.
But,
yeah,
Todd,
absolutely.
You look like you had something on your mind.
No, I was just saying, if you're going to be a candidate, don't just show up during the election, you know, to all these different groups and act like you've been helping the entire time, wanting their support. You know, help them out before you even ask them to help you run for public office. That's all I'm going to say on that part.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's great advice too. Like, yeah, don't, you know, especially if you're thinking about running for office, you know, show up to those groups and just learn more, get plugged in. And then get plugged in with campaigns, you know, early on, you know, once you hear a candidate that you like has stepped up, and if no one has, step up yourself, man. I mean, we're going to lose, you know, MAGA, America First. We're going to lose 100% of the races we don't run for, man. that's the number one reason we lose races is because MAGA and America First patriots don't step up to run for office.
Well, I stood up and it cost me a lot of money.
Well, and look, my advice when I work with candidates, I tell people, please don't use your own money. You know, you're already making a sacrifice. Go out there, call donors. If you're going to make the sacrifice to run for office, other conservatives in the community have to step up and support you on that. And it's worked mostly well for the candidates I've helped. You know, unless a candidate really insists on wanting to loan their campaign money, it's not something I've done with most of the candidates, and that's what I would encourage, you know, people to do.
Well, in an honest race, that probably works. But when you have dirty Republican operatives undermining the campaign,
that's true.
I didn't want their money.
But we're winding down for the last couple minutes of the hour before we go to the break. Eric, what are some things you're working on real quick, and any final thoughts you want to hit? Maybe we got about 2 minutes. Anything you just want to talk about real quick?
Yeah, I mean, one, you know, expanding my operation. I'm hiring a full-time person. You know, October of last year, I had 23 part-time employees, two 1099 contractors. I was working with about 5 or 6 vendors, and I had 12 campaigns I was either working for or managing. I was in over my head. I was like, I got to hire someone. So I started talking with a friend I worked with in 2022, has a lot of experience. He's going to be coming over later this month, and just want to expand things, help more conservative candidates win, and just expand the operation. You know, just seeing what other people are doing with Turning Point, Scott Pressler, you know, Cliff Maloney, I think was the name I was thinking of. I think he's actually now operating in Pennsylvania, and you know, just expand it, just help conservatives win.
That's it. What are some places people can get a hold of you? You know, email, social media, phone number, anything you want to give out that people can reach out to you and then maybe consult you?
Yeah, so you see my name on the screen for those that are watching, but it's erikwyattr@gmail.com. Anyone can reach out to me there anytime. You know, that would be the best way. You know, and yeah, I think they'll be able to find me, and I'm on Facebook, I'm on X, and it's actually my name because it's so unique.
Right, it is.
You know, it's
somebody got the spelling wrong on that one.
yeah. It's you know, just spell the name and on Facebook or X, and I'm sure you'll find me. We can connect there, direct message. You know, that works. In fact, that's how Todd gets a hold of me at times.
Right.
So I appreciate it.
Roger that, Eric. We appreciate it. We'll be back after the break here, folks. Stick around. The Common Sense Conservatives right here on WSMN. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
WSMN 1590, WSMN 95.3 FM Nashua. Listen, watch, and stream at wsmn.live.
USA Radio News. I'm Lance Pry. A media outlet in Iran is reporting more than 12,000 civilians have been killed by the Islamic government since protests started 2.5 weeks ago. It started with their currency called the rial. It started to free fall, leading to massive inflation. I mean, here in the United States, we freaked out when President Biden took our inflation to 9%. Theirs is running 40 to 50% right now. With the president saying he has the backs of the Iranian civilian population, protesters are realizing freedom from religious rule is within reach. We're all waiting to see what the president's response will be. The commander-in-chief yesterday, after Islamic leaders announced a public execution, will take place today.
We don't want to see people killed, and we want to see a little bit of freedom for these people. These people have been living in hell for a long time. You know, that used to be a hell of a country. I have friends that used to invest in Iran, and they did well with their investments. It was a great place. The people were great.
The Supreme Court of the United States is reviving an Illinois congressman's lawsuit over the state of Illinois mail-in ballot law. Republican Congressman Michael Bost was granted the legal right to sue Illinois over its ability to count mail-in ballots received after Election Day. While the legality of the practice itself was not before the justices, the 7-2 ruling could pave the way for political candidates nationwide to challenge election laws more easily in their states. Illinois argued that chaos would ensue if the candidates get to see the ballots. For the first time in 3 years, Highway 1 along the Pacific Ocean in California, also known as the Pacific Coast Highway, will be fully reopened from the Big Sur coastline to San Luis Obispo County starting today. Erosion and landslides were to blame. Thanks for being there, my friend. We appreciate it. America's News Network, USA Radio News.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. And here's why. This time of year is decision time for a lot of people, but it's also when you can join MediShare and save even more than usual. For many families, joining MediShare means saving about $500 a month, which is a game changer for a lot of people. More than 1 million people are now part of healthcare sharing because it just makes so much sense, especially right now. And MediShare is the gold standard. Members like it a lot. We know this from member surveys. MediShare has been around for over 30 years. It is a proven thing. And if you join before January 15th and you mention the promo code SHARE, they'll waive your application fee, so you save $100 right off the bat. I'll give you the number here in a second, but just call. You'll get a price within 2 minutes. And again, the deadline is January 15th. So call now. You'll save even more. Call 855-SHARE-40. That's 855-SHARE-40. 855-SHARE-40.
Tired of wondering where your money really goes? At Mammoth Nation, we built what was missing. The America First Marketplace. Every brand we feature is 100% American owned and operated, rigorously vetted for their values and committed to supporting our Constitution, law enforcement, and the American dream. When you shop with us, your dollar stays in the neighborhood, supporting families, veterans, and charities like Folds of Honor. No more sending your hard-earned money overseas to the companies that don't respect you here. Your dollar reflects your values. Your dollar, your values. Your America. Join Mammoth Nation today and be part of building a patriot economy by going to TruckersUnitedForFreedom.com affiliate page and hit that link. American built, America strong. Mammoth Nation.
Hi, Nashua. I'm Perry Cataldo from Choice Benefit Services, your local insurance agent that has dedicated himself to all the Medicare plans in New Hampshire. Whether you're just turning 65, new to Medicare, or already have a plan, I'll explain all your Medicare options and extra benefits that you hear so much about. I ensure you're getting all you're entitled to and all that you deserve. Nashua, don't get fooled again this year. Call Perry Cataldo at 603-461-5550. That's 603-461-5550. Or visit me online at cbsnh.com. That's cbsnh.com. I look forward to hearing from you. And remember, health is wealth.
Most social platforms throttle your reach, track your behavior, and decide what you're allowed to see. Audax does none of that. Here, you control the algorithm. Your posts go where you send them, without shadow bans, filters, or hidden limits. Audax doesn't spy on your private life. No one listens to your calls. No one monitors your searches. And because we don't take money from corporate advertisers, no one is manipulating what you see or how you use the platform. Audax is built for patriots who want a place to organize, speak freely, and push back against the issues facing America without interference. Freedom isn't free, but it's worth every penny. Join the Rise for Liberty project at audax1.com and take back your voice.
Continuing the legacy started in 1904, Roger Pellerin of Gate City Monument Incorporated continues to provide the same high-quality monument, custom headstone, and stoneworking craftsmanship today that they built their reputation on over 100 years ago, servicing Nashua, New Hampshire, as well as nearby areas in Massachusetts, such as Lowell, Billerica, Chelmsford, and beyond. From creating custom monuments to memorialize, to landscaping and granite work or restorative services, each job is done to your satisfaction and is backed by decades of experience and integrity. If you're thinking about stonework, think Roger Pellerin of Gate City Monument. Visit online at gatecitymonument.com. Stop by and meet Roger at 321 West Hollis Street in Nashua, or call 603-883-7141. That's 603-883-7141. Gate City Monument, memorials of distinction for people who care.
All right, welcome back to the Common Sense Conservatives right here on WSMN 1590 AM and 95.3 FM. I'm joined by my co-host, Colonel Chris Wyatt, aka the Viceroy. We're going to start calling the Viceroy of Greenland. And John Grosvenor holds down the studio there in Nashua, New Hampshire. Good, productive first half of the show there. Eric Whiter out of Knox County talking about basically what we need to do the country over, not just what we need to do in Tennessee for conservatives and common sense Republicans to win public office, for crying out loud. What are your thoughts, Colonel?
You muted?
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that.
There we go.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
No, it's technology. I outwitted myself there. Yeah, it happens at times.
Outwitted
I
myself.
I outwitted myself. Yeah, I was too busy in my Viceroy business. Yeah, so my Inuit advisor was whispering in my ear over here, and she has a good point about whale blubber. So we're going to move on from that now. But seriously, yeah, I thought he was spot on. But then, to be fair, I mean, it's. We pretty much believe the same thing on most of these points. I think the one place where he parted company was on the taxation issue.
Right.
And John and I have talked about this before. I think John would like to get rid of income tax, and I think John's correct, but I also think that's a fantasy. Until the federal government expenditures can be cut down to $2 or $3 trillion, it's simply impossible. I think the much smarter path is if people want to campaign on removing I'm not really wanting to mislead people, but if you want to say that you want to get rid of income tax, fine. But it ain't going to happen. And do that for hang on, John. Do that for the midterms. But then in the off year, eliminate the corporate tax. That frees up 6% of the revenue. The federal government, they've deprived them of 6%. Every department, except for maybe Federal Aviation Administration and a few other places like, ICE, don't get a budget cut. But everybody else takes 10% shave off the top.
Even
and then,
DOD, right?
And there you go. Even DOD, 10% off the top.
Perfect. Fair.
You save 10% of $7 trillion. That's $700 billion. That's twice what they're making from corporate taxes. You save a few $100 billion and you get rid of the corporate taxes. And by getting rid of the corporate taxes, you stop double and triple taxation. That's hundreds of billions of dollars stays with the corporations, can be invested in capital expansion, can be invested in franchise, can be invested in science and technology, developing new medicines, new cures, or it can be paid out or in dividends to shareholders, returning investment, which encourages more investment into the economy, or it can be raised in benefits and services to their own staff and clients. It's a win-win-win. It's the right way to go. I've been right for 40 years, and it's about time this country got on board. Go ahead, John.
There you go. So here's a problem with getting rid of personal income tax. The reason why it's here is because if you're elite rich, you can draw off your corporation and keep the money and not pay taxes on it, right? So now you got these people that become very, very wealthy who aren't paying taxes.
In what way?
That's how we got started in this in the first.
But in what way? How do you take income and not pay taxes on income?
Or you
no, that's the before it personal income tax.
That's
what was happening is we had the wealthiest people in the world because they didn't have to pay taxes on their money. So this is what they decided back in 1910 was we have to tax their income. They weren't going after you and me. They were going after them supposedly.
Not then, but eventually, just like when they started taxing Social Security benefits, exactly. Eventually, it all flows downhill. Exactly.
So but that's a problem with my plan and my idea of getting rid of personal income taxes. They will still have to have it for a certain income level. They're going to do it. The other issue is government likes to spend money, man. They're not getting rid of any taxes. Let's face it, even on the right, they got their pet projects too. And right now they're arguing about Obamacare, how they're going to fund it. When we were, as the conservatives, it was supposed to be repeal and replace. Turned into, oh no, we'll play with the left now. We're going to fund it. What happened? Why are we should be repealing that crap? Get rid of it. Create a federal insurance commission if you have to do anything. States had insurance commissions. That's why you used to see the advertisement say not available in the state of California because it was stricter in California. They could provide the service in California. States already had it covered. Why do we even have Obamacare?
We shouldn't have Obamacare because it perverted the insurance market and made it more expensive for everybody.
Absolutely. So I want to shift gears. We talked about Venezuela on here a number of times, and we'll come back to it. But I want to get your take on Iran, Colonel, and what's playing out right now. Any thoughts from your DAO, DIA hat, if you don't mind, to give us a little thought, a little assessment.
Well, I think that the president's got a problem, and it's a self-inflicted problem. The president has encouraged the Iranians to stand up to the regime. And, he said, we've got your back. We'll be there. He also said, if the government kills anybody, we're coming in. Well, they've killed thousands apparently now, and we haven't taken action. I'm not saying that we're not going to take action. I'm also not trying to embroil us in a controversy, but the president made a bold statement. It's one thing to have hyperbole. It's quite another to make a promise like that. We have promised the Kurds over the past century repeatedly that we're going to help them, and every time they've been abandoned. We've promised the Iranians under Obama and under Biden that we would help them, and nothing was done. Under Obama, we promised the Syrians we would help, and the line in the sand, nothing was done. Credibility matters. Trump has credibility, but he cannot squander it on the shoals of the Iranian, the Persian Gulf. This is a problem right now. I'm very concerned about it. What I would say is that I've been assessing for the past week that I think the U.S. government is already taking action, non-kinetic action in Iran, in the form of disrupting the Revolutionary Guard's communications and government officials' communications. I think that's happening. I have no evidence to support it, but I'm watching the things unfold, what information is coming out. And it would seem to me that the response by the government has been uncoordinated and chaotic, and that would likely be a consequence of their communications network being hit upon either by, a non-kinetic cyber attack and or actual jamming of nodes of communication. I think that's happening. I've heard no other analysts make that allegation, which I find interesting. I mean, you see what's happening here, and it would seem to be that a regime that has had a tight lid on this and shut down these protests repeatedly before is unable to do it after 2 weeks. Now, I did listen to the Iranian foreign minister on Fox. I don't usually watch Fox, but Brett Baer was on tonight. He had him, and then he had the Danish foreign minister and the Greenlandic foreign minister, which was fascinating, all in one show. Great show. And of course, the Iranian foreign minister says, no. This is foreign. This is Mossad is behind this. They started all this, and we allowed the peaceful demonstrations for 10 days because it was lawful. But then these terrorists started shooting our police and decapitating our police, and we had to fight back. Yeah, okay, buddy. That sounds about as plausible as me selling ice cubes to Eskimos. You know what I'm saying? I'm not buying that for a second. But it was very suave, very smooth, and very under control. He did have a bit of a smirk there a couple of times, but that's because he knows he's lying through his teeth. And so he had to expose his lying teeth a couple of times. But no, my concern with this is the United States credibility, and more importantly, President Trump's credibility, because a lot of people dismiss him at their own peril. And in this case, you're dismissing Trump at his peril. I would not be surprised if in an hour or two we hear about something kinetic happening in Iran. Just saying. And I'm not predicting that, but I wouldn't be surprised.
So to my understanding, they quit killing protesters. Was that because Trump made that?
Oh, of course they quit killing protesters. How did they suddenly get the terrorists under control? If these terrorists were shooting people, how did they stop them? He didn't offer us to tell us how they stopped them. And he says they're not killing protesters. He says it was the terrorists, which are funded by Mossad and by the U.S. So look, it's just all a bunch of nonsense. And if it doesn't happen tonight, Friends and Family Only Friday is just a couple days away.
Right. Absolutely. So you're thinking that sometime, early in the morning at some point, maybe soon, we could have one of those press conferences of saying we got him. Is that where you're kind of?
Well, in fact, at this hour, it's almost early morning there. There may have already been an attack, and with no internet coming out of Iran, we don't know. I don't think it happened tonight, but I'm saying it's possible, and I expect that going forward that we will see something here very soon. Trump may back down, but Trump often gives the indication he's backing down only to strike with a hammer when you're not looking. And it's like he did when he blew up their nuclear stuff. Well, let's negotiate. Okay, we're negotiating. Boom.
Right. I'm thinking there is satellite communications, right? What was Elon Musk got the Starlink thing? You tell me news outlets and stuff don't have Starlink in Iran?
News outlets aren't even there. For the most part, they can't get access to it. And Starlink is actively being hunted down by the regime. They're murdering people they find with Starlink connections. It's not like it's like a cell phone where you just pull it up and connect. You have to have a dish. It's not even the mini dish is not small. It's the size of a pizza box.
Right. And on top of a rooftop, you can see them.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious. You fly over with a helicopter or with a drone, you're going to find them. And they have drones. So it's not a risk-free proposition for the Iranians. A lot of these people are using these things outside city centers. They're recording things on their phone and they're going out and they're plugging into it and getting away. So look, it's if the regime had no evil intent, if they weren't trying to hide what's happening from the world, why did they shut down the mobile telephone network data communication link and the terrestrial communication link? Why did they do that? And why are they now actively hunting down Starlink terminals? They obviously have something to hide.
Right. Well, one of the listeners here said, I don't believe that the Persians need B-52s to come in bombing. Get Starlink in first through Armenia. That's the support that will be more effective for now. And I do agree with Rand Paul, one of the listeners here.
Okay, well, let's just address that. Okay, great. So people have Starlink. That's not going to stop killing. That's not going to overthrow the regime.
Right.
It's going to take either the people going into the palaces and stringing up the officials, and or something like that. I mean, the Iranian theocratic regime is not going to simply give up. They stole the country, they imprisoned 90 million people, and they like it, and they're not going to let go. I mean, unless the security forces turn on these thugs, kind of like the Securitate did against Ceausescu in '89, this isn't going to end unless kinetic action takes place.
They did lose their standing with their money, right? So they're pretty much broke. They have no money left. So how are they going to operate?
You know, about international markets, is that what you're asking, John?
Well, you
just
got a
in
country that's
general?
basically broke now. They don't have any money. They've inflated their value so much that their money is collapsed. So how are they going to operate as a government? I mean,
Well, very, very simply, John, very simply, they sell oil as long as they're able to sell oil, which has got problems. But as long as they sell oil, it's not a problem. How is oil traded? Not in Iranian reals, but in U.S. dollars.
Right, dollars.
That's so they get money from oil. So as long as they can sell oil to China, as long as you sell oil to North Korea, as long as you sell oil to whomever needs it, it's a rogue state like South Africa,
Right.
they're going to get dollars for that. People
And
pay
my-
in dollars, not in reals.
yeah, at a discount price. They're not even getting full value. Of the oil
Well,
themselves.
so what? It's okay.
It's still
fine.
money.
It's
what I'm getting at here is they're not getting enough money to
$25
run
a
their
barrel is
nation.
money. Well, it doesn't take much to murder people. You just need bullets and security forces who are able to eat. That's all it takes.
Right,
So feed
absolutely.
yourselves and kill everybody else. That's what you're telling me. But the point is they can't run a country on nothing, and they depleted their dollar value so much. Or whatever you call it. I don't know what their denominations are called, but
Real.
yeah, okay, the real. So they depleted it so much that it has no value anymore.
Exactly. People are offering $0 and £0 for a single nothing. They'll give you nothing for the currency. It has no value whatsoever. It doesn't matter. They have things to barter with. They have oil and lots of it. Yep.
Right.
So how long do you think they're going to last like this? I mean, this is
Well, it's lasted for 35 years like this.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's worse than it was 35 years ago.
It's worse today than it was a few years ago. That's correct. But until the security forces crack, turn on the state, or are defeated on the ground by someone and not by the citizens who have no guns, things won't change.
So my point is basically this is how Rome fell, right? They couldn't afford to pay their troops anymore. They couldn't afford to pay their soldiers.
Yeah.
They kept depleting their money. They inflated their value so much that they didn't really have the money to pay, and people lost faith in their currency. Once they lost faith in their currency, they started looking elsewhere. And this is why you're seeing the overthrow or the protest going on right now in Iran.
Well, Rome fell for a lot of reasons, not the least of which was a religious schism that split Constantinople into the Eastern Roman Empire and the Western,
Right.
which spelled the death knell, but it took hundreds of years for that to happen. That was the start of it. The later causes were multifaceted, not the least of which is the reason they couldn't pay their armies because they hired so many mercenaries, essentially. So many Germans became troops for the legions.
And then they were on
just-
the inside.
That's right. They were on the inside. And then they turned on them.
Vercingetorix was one of them, right? Yeah.
Exactly. You don't. Well, he was actually executed by.
Oh, that's
Julius
right. He
Caesar,
was
but-
one of the sorry. never
yeah.
mind.
But
My bad.
but I know where you're going with that. He was a Gaul. But
Yeah.
but the point here is that they brought these people inside their tent, kind of like we let people into Minnesota inside our tent,
Yes,
and they
we did.
betray us. But it turns out we don't need Somalis who have no affiliation with America that steal from us to betray this nation. We have it in the guise of Secret Service agents, Todd, who protect the vice president of the United States. Did you see that story from James O'Keefe?
I did not see this story. I've not done a
Oh,
lot of
John,
news
did
except
you
just
see it?
before the show.
No, I did not. This is
Oh, you guys don't know about this? Oh my goodness,
I've
James
not seen
O'Keefe.
this, sorry.
James O'Keefe, Project Veritas, and his board ousted him. He founded Project Veritas. And by the way, has anybody heard it from Project Veritas since James O'Keefe left? I haven't.
Oh wow, no.
But the O'Keefe Media Group released a undercover video yesterday of this hideous looking illegal. Well, I don't know if he's illegal. He's an alien who became an American citizen like in 2020, and 2 years later was hired by the Secret Service. And he's on the detail to protect the vice president. So he's trying to chat this chick up in a restaurant. She goes, "Oh, can I see your badge? Can you show it to me?" So he pulls out, she's got a camera on, shows his Secret Service badge credentials in a restaurant. Then she starts talking to him and fluffing him up. He thinks he's going to get a little something, little something. And he says, "Well, what do you do?" "Oh, we form a bubble around the vice president, and we're always so many feet behind him, and we do X number of this, we do this." And she goes, "Oh, well, that's it." He sent her on Tinder photographs of the vice president's vehicle loading into the back of a C-17. So you can see the procedures that they do. Showed photographs of the routes. He told her where he was going when he was with the vice president. "Oh, we're going to be here. We're going to be there." This is insane. This man should be in prison.
These tactics still work. Ben Franklin was doing this way back, right?
And he told her that he voted. He told her he voted for Biden and that he hated Trump. And she said, "Well, how did you wind up there?" Well, everyone has to go down to DC eventually, you know. And I have to watch the Vance's kids. They're little snot nose, you know. I'm babysitting, and it really sucks. Unbelievable.
Wow.
They're not babysitting at all. A minor child has a chaperone there that deals with all the snot-nosy nonsense. The Secret Service just provides a security bubble and transportation for safety and security.
And what are we seeing? The manifestation of DEI. DEI. This person has no business being a Secret Service. No naturalized citizen should be there to protect the president and vice president. I'm sorry. No naturalized.
I agree with you. You know, you can't be president or vice president without being, a natural born citizen. I think that's another job we should look at. You need to be a natural born citizen. I wouldn't disagree with you, and I wouldn't fight you on that one if that was before Congress.
But this is insane. Go watch, when we're done here tonight, go watch the O'Keefe Project. You can get it on X or whatever. It's about, I forget how long it was. It's about 14-minute video or something like that. It's insane. This guy is trying to, how many other idiots are trying to get a little something from a lady and they talk big game. This guy's unbelievable in his boast and his open disdain for the people he's supposed to protect. I mean, and that's what I said during the first administration. Right. These slugs were in every department, in the FBI, in DIA. Right. I told you guys in previous few years, I said, you remember when I worked at DIA, we had all these people. I went there after 9/11, and we had all these people when it became fashionable to say that Trump or that Bush was wrong. There were no weapons of mass destruction, all this other nonsense. I went back and I looked at the analysts who were running their mouths in DIA during coffee or sitting around the cooler or having meetings waiting for somebody to come in. Every one of these jerks had written reports advocating that we go in saying that there were weapons of mass destruction there, and they cited sources, every one of them that was saying this. And then they changed their tune a couple years later. Yeah, because that's where the wind blew. Yeah, and these are betrayers inside the bureaucracy. Of course.
Speaking engagements, book deals, they want all that. They got to be relevant, right?
No, well, whether they want that or not, these are people that just like willow tree. They bend with the wind, wisping willow. They're the people that betray the president. I mean, we see this in the ranks of all the stuff. Where is the resolution on why the president was nearly murdered in Butler, Pennsylvania? We're going on 2 years since that happened now, a year and a half going on 2 years, and we're still waiting. Still a cover-up in the Secret Service. Still a cover-up in the Justice Department. Where are the investigations into the people who suspended our First Amendment rights in collusion, coercion, and cajoling the tech companies like Twitter and Instagram and Meta, Facebook and Meta, Instagram and YouTube, silencing our voices when we did nothing illegal? We simply shared our own views or facts. They didn't like the facts. And now we see all the videos coming out, all these clowns who are running around, pretending that they were, like I mentioned last thing, these French officials standing around with no mask on. And like, okay, wait, are the cameras on? Yeah. Are the cameras on? Okay, everybody mask up. All frauds, man. This is unbelievable. Where are the investigations of those people? People want to still investigate 2016, 2020. Fine. I want prison time for White House officials, for national security officials, for National Institutes of Health, for the CDC, for Dr. Fauci, for all these frauds who violated my First Amendment rights. I want them in prison. That's what I'm a Pam Bondi doing. I don't really care to hear about the agent who used legitimate use of force to shoot this lunatic who tried to run him down with a vehicle.
Right. And what are you seeing out there or hearing after the body cam footage and multiple other angles have been released as far as that interaction or that altercation? What are you? Did it reinforce more or less what your original thoughts were?
Well, I'm willing to change my position, my analysis, if different facts come to light. I've seen nothing that alters my initial assessment. The initial video was probably the best one for me to see when two agents got out of their pickup truck when this woman was unlawfully blocking a street, obstructing a federal operation, endangering public safety, and endangering the lives of those agents as her comrades circled on them both sides, coming down the street, screaming, yelling, shaking, whistling, threatening these agents on two sides and from behind while she blocked the front. They blocked in these agents. She created a situation. She is the architect of her own demise. She is the one that chose to not follow lawful orders. And this is where the discussion stops. What happened afterwards, all is a result of her actions. The only question for me, legally, is the agent firing 3 shots at her after he drove past. And I suspect, without knowing, without investigation, that she was still alive and hadn't died, or he thought she was still alive because she was driving the vehicle away, and she presented a threat to public safety. And that's why he had to disable her.
I think he did think she was still alive. He made the slur that they keep talking about, right? And the vehicle was accelerating as it pulled away from him.
Right.
She was still accelerating.
But that could be her leg. You know, it does. You know,
It was. That's she was probably dead.
But whatever the case, I think she's probably dead. I think he got her with a headshot in the first one.
Right.
But I mean, that's just speculation. But whatever the case is, people forget that vehicle, if she was able to drive away, presented a hazard to people down the street in the crosswalk who could have been killed. There could have been a child walking out there.
Right.
So it doesn't matter. He was preventing a danger to public safety.
But if she's willing to hit the one officer, she's willing to hit the other officers down the street as well, like you just said, for sure.
Yep. And what gets me is this nonsense. How can anybody who watched the horrific killings in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, when that evil racist used an SUV to kill, 16 people or something like that were killed,
driving in the trade,
and injure like 100, grievously taking legs off, breaking them, destroying their lives. And you see that, and before that, in Berlin, at the Christkindlmarkt, in London, on the London Bridge, people using cars as deadly weapons. Any moron that tries to make an argument that she was just driving a car needs to be horsewhipped in public. I'm sorry, because you're stupid, and stupid people should wear signs. Here's your sign.
John, what are your thoughts about after seeing some of the different angles since last week?
I still stand my position. I don't think he should have shot her. His position should have been more of getting out of the way. I originally had said that he was blocking her path of travel, but since his video came out, he was not. Actually, he was very smart about what he was doing. He was documenting. He took his video camera, walked around her vehicle, got her face, got her tag number,
license
got
plate,
his spouses. Yeah, he was documenting, and he was continuing to walk the perimeter of the vehicle. So that's what he was doing. He wasn't trying to block her path of travel, although by walking in front of her vehicle, he was putting himself in jeopardy.
He got to that point where he was blocking her, yeah.
But, you know, and looking at it from his angle, she was moving rather rapidly. Looking at it from the side angle that they originally give us, maybe because they were slowing it down more and stuff like that for emphasis so you can see more detail, it looked like he had more time to react. But once you saw from his camera, there was a split second. It was a split second.
It was
decision.
less than 1.3 seconds, the entire engagement. And that's the point I made on this. And you throw in the circumstance of him having been drugged hundreds of feet and his leg broken, or his ankle broken just a few months ago by another one of these lunatics, and the fact that this idiot was spotted throughout the day and recorded on video antagonizing these folks. She refused a lawful order from calmly approaching law enforcement to exit the vehicle. Then when the officer tried to open the door, she pulled back, endangering his life, putting him at risk. Then she pulled forward, and then she gunned the engine, and you can see the look on her face of glee. She was taunting the officer. She is the architect of her own demise. And the fact about him staying in front of the vehicle, he has an obligation to protect the public. So let's turn this around.
Well, wait a minute.
Let's turn this up. Let's turn this around. He never shoots. He never shoots. She isn't shot. What is the outcome of the situation then?
He's run over.
Well, let's say he dives out of the way. What's the outcome? We don't know.
We don't know. You're honest. That's the honest answer. We don't know.
Exactly. We don't know.
At the end of the day, if you go look at the DHS policy and guidelines,
I did for deadly force.
You're not supposed to. Officers not put themselves in a position of jeopardy. And you can argue whether he did or not. He didn't. It wasn't his intention. That's for sure.
When he passed in front of the vehicle, she was stationary. The engine wasn't gunned. She wasn't driving. She engaged the vehicle as he was passing in front of the vehicle.
No, you're correct. You're correct. Yeah. That's true.
So he did not place himself in a position of danger.
By putting himself in front of a vehicle because you don't know what she's going to do, it is kind of putting yourself in jeopardy. But at the same time, that wasn't his intention. And you're right. It wasn't the play.
My argument there is, what if the vehicle has something hazardous on the bottom, like spikes or like, things jutting out of it? He's walking around the vehicle to check on it.
And also, this agent is a veteran who served in combat, if I'm not mistaken. So we've seen many times, the Colonel and I probably, vehicles used as weapons, and not least like some vehicle-borne IDs, but also to mow down people that are performing guard duty or any number of things on patrol. Vehicles that are coming up to your area of operation are kept away for a lot of good reasons, and we've seen that.
Yeah.
He was also clearing the vehicle essentially by walking around. It's what we do when we take people between Jersey barriers. People walk all the way around the vehicle. Now, the one exception he didn't do is he's not looking for explosives with a mirror under the vehicle, but all his actions are consistent with proper security for a vehicle that is in a place it should not be in. And that's what he did. So as far as him putting himself in danger, that's all bull squat. That's nonsense. He was doing his job properly, and he complied with the Homeland Security use of deadly force. She used deadly force, and he returned in kind. What's a miracle to me is that after he was struck, he actually hit her, and it went straight through the windshield. He was hit. You can hear it on his body cam where he's hit, and he fires after he's hit.
It was hard to determine which one was the hit and which one was the fire.
I didn't find it
pretty close together. I thought.
Yeah, there's another video from further away that shows he was hit, and he's like, and then he.
And what happens 2 months from now when these morons in Minneapolis have explosive devices on these vehicles?
Right, that's what somebody just said here in the chat.
Oh yeah. You don't know that.
Well, no, that's
this
okay,
woman
you
presented
bring up
risk.
a valid issue right here, because now, since this has happened, and I said this earlier in the first hour with our guest, is there's a lot of videos now. They're saying, "Well, I'm not going back to another protest unless I'm armed. I'm not going back unless I have a gun."
These idiots
they're
are calling for
with guns.
that. But did you see the incident happen in Florida right after this, where the vehicle was pinned in outside a Home Depot, and this moron refuses to lower the window and drives backwards and tries to push an SUV out of the way, damages a $60,000 SUV that's a GSA vehicle, then pulls forward and hits the other car, and then eventually is drug out of the car after doing $100,000 of damage to U.S. government property. And all he's going to do is, we have to pay for, because these people are released. They're going after people that are released in public. They know who they are because they have convictions for being a pedo, for being a rapist, for being a murderer, or being a armed robber. 73% of the people who've been deported are convicted felons. We've deported 600,000 people. Do the math. That's 350,000 convicted felons have been shipped out of the country, and these people are trying to stop it.
Right.
These people need to be horsewhipped in public.
Yeah,
and most people who are felons are multiple felons, by the way.
Exactly, it's not one time.
So you know, right?
So Trump is protecting American lives. You know,
of course he is, and
they don't appreciate it.
And these people, and none of this would have happened in Minneapolis if only those idiots in the Minneapolis Police Department cooperated with federal law enforcement. They are obliged to turn over a convicted felon in their custody to ICE, who has a final deportation order. 1,300 criminals, felons, not just people who came across the border, convicted felons in Minneapolis released. This alone should scare the people of Minneapolis. You mean to tell me the Minneapolis Police Department let 1,300 convicted felons back on our streets, just like Larry Krasner in Philadelphia? Yep, that's exactly what they did. And these were just felons that are illegal aliens who had final deportation orders, not even the other illegal aliens who didn't have final deportation orders, or the criminals from Minneapolis themselves who are committing crimes. How many felons have been released on the streets of Minneapolis by these idiots who are supposed to be serving and protect? They're not serving and protecting. They're protecting criminals at the expense of Minnesotans. And these Minnesotans need to get their head out of the rectum and start paying attention to what's going on. These pink-haired and blue-haired annoying women. I don't know what's going on with white women in this country, but a lot of them need a serious sanity check.
Yeah. So another thing that people don't, everybody says, "Oh, you should have shot out the tires." That is not permissible.
No.
That is because you don't know about ricochet. You don't know what's going to happen with that.
That's the wrong place you want to shoot.
It also doesn't stop the vehicle in that short of time. Even if he hit the tire and didn't ricochet, it's not going to deflate before he gets run over.
But the point is, the DHS
that's about
does not allow
40
that.
pounds PSI. It's going to take a few minutes, you know.
Exactly.
No, it'll go out quick, but that's beside the point.
Not in 1.3 seconds. The man is run over in 1.3 seconds.
No, it's going to take a little longer.
About immobilizing the vehicle. They're supposed to shoot to immobilize the vehicle.
It's the same argument, John, that people make. Well, why don't you shoot him in the leg? No, you shoot center mass.
More of a target right here. Plus, if
that's right.
Bad to you, you got to stop him, put him down.
Exactly.
Shoot him. Legs move. Legs are smaller targets. Yeah.
So the theory is, if you want a headshot, shoot them in the guts. When they bend over, they'll bend over in your aim. You know. So anyway, yeah. You get more mass in the chest area, in the body area, torso.
And
somebody was saying earlier about him being hit and whether I was questioning it or not. I'm not questioning it at all. In fact, a recent article came out that he had internal hemorrhaging from that hit. It was hard.
Yes.
You saw that from his his video footage.
That's a mid-size SUV hitting you.
So let's play devil's advocate here. You can see in the video clearly that he is in a firing position. He's drawing his service weapon, pointing at the windshield. What did she think she was going to do? Did she think he was playing around?
Right. And the girlfriend is telling her to go.
Egging him on. Yeah, and I don't know if she saw the firearm, but she egged her on. You know, look, I mean, this woman deserves no sympathy.
There's one thing, too, nobody's mentioned.
What's
if
that?
you look at the beginning of the video, she waved an officer around. She left space to go around, and she waved him around. But when he did, she moved her vehicle forward as if she was going to T-bone him. And then she backed it back up. And I think that's what prompted the officer to get out and start doing the perimeter walk. And that's what prompted the pickup truck with the two officers to approach her.
Correct.
Is because
and they
her
approach
behavior.
calmly. And they approach calmly.
They weren't just engaging her because she was there peacefully turning around. I'm sorry.
Right.
Okay. Like Ashley Babbitt, if she hadn't been there, she wouldn't be dead.
Right.
Well, it's not even about being there. It's about her actions more than anything. You could be a bystander on the sidewalk and observe.
If she hadn't been there, she wouldn't be dead.
Babbitt wouldn't be a bystander standing in the Capitol after it's been invaded. Yeah, that's not going to happen.
The thing about Babbitt is, honest to God, here's a group of guys, grown men, busting out a window. The door's locked. They can't penetrate the door.
And
they
a
want
lot of
into a
police
secure
officers inside
area.
telling her to stop. Yeah.
Yes.
Look,
so they bust out a window, and being the cowards they are, they look at her and go, "Ladies first." They encouraged her to go.
No, that officer panicked. I think he's probably a racist.
He shouldn't have shot, but at the same time, she shouldn't have been there jumping up into the door that's clearly locked.
Right, but his was not a reasonable, justified use of force.
In that moment, you're right. Yeah.
But she shouldn't have been there.
The speaker wasn't in there. The principal.
Wait a minute. I thought that there were a member of Congress in there, and that's why it was sealed off. It was locked.
No.
But it really doesn't matter. Ashley Babbitt did not present a life and limb threat.
Your argument still applies here. How do you know she didn't have a weapon on her at the time? How does he know that?
First off, she didn't present a threat. If you don't present a threat, the woman drove at him. That presented. He didn't come around the vehicle and pull his gun and start shooting at her.
Oh no! You got to go back. You got to go back and read. Well, that was DHS. This is a whole different.
Back to Capitol Police Department, but back to the. It's not the same thing. The woman with the vehicle used a deadly weapon and came at the officer. When he came around the vehicle and he did not. If he just came around and started shooting at her out of the blue, we'd have a problem. There would be a real serious issue. That's not what happened. He did not fire the weapon until he was struck. He waited too long to shoot the weapon, to be honest. But it was less than a second, so he probably didn't. But with the case of Babbitt, she didn't present a threat to life and limb. Even if she got through that window, she didn't get through that window. She was shot as she was going up in the air. And so, look, I mean, that was not a lawful use of deadly force. And that man has gotten away with negligent homicide.
When I read the DHS, and this is DHS, not Capitol Police, but they don't have to exactly present. It has to be presumed. It only has to be presumed deadly threat. It doesn't have to be absolute and total. But Charles, to answer your question, SFC stands for Sergeant First Class.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, but if he spells it out, it runs all the way across the screen.
Yeah. So there are things, though. I mean, the general public don't understand until you read what their protocols are. That you need when you're given a lawful order, you better obey. You better pay attention and do what you're supposed to be doing, because these guys aren't playing around out there. And it's proven, no matter what you think about the circumstance, that part is proven time and time again. And
okay, first, why do people think it's okay to block the street? I mean, where does that become legal?
What's wrong with these people? I have no clue what goes on in the minds of liberal leftists. I mean, half-wits are half-wits. I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with you. Half-wits are half-wits. I think that's the bottom line here. But I mean, look, if she had moved the vehicle when they told her to initially, it would have been okay. If she had gotten out of the vehicle when they directed her to, it would have been okay. If she had not endangered the life of the officer with the body armor that walked up patiently to the vehicle when he put his arm on the door and she tried to reverse, she would have been okay. If she had not accelerated towards the other officer, she would have been okay. She took one stupid step after another. The arrogance, you see the video. Yeah, go ahead. Come on. Mother effort, or whatever, something like that. Whatever she said. Arrogant beyond belief. These two hyped up. They talk about the testosterone fueled. Look, these two lesbians are testosterone fueled. Their behavior was beyond the pale. Reckless, stupid, and self-defeating. And this is the consequence of it.
Right.
And all these idiots march around the streets of Minneapolis. I'm glad that the border forces and law enforcement are finally doing as suggested from the beginning. You need to have a pistol belt full of dozens of zip ties. You just put them on the ground, you zip tie them, you load them in a paddy wagon, you take them in, you fingerprint them, you charge them, no bail, let them sit in jail and rot until they get their hearing, and then you prosecute them for sedition and insurrection.
The way I see it, Chris, if they already caught you, your perpetrator, You might as well take them in because they're
Right.
obstructing justice. They're committing crimes. So
Right,
you may as well
and
make
I
it
would
worth your while somehow.
charge them aiding and abetting a felon as well, on top of everything.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah, why
whatever
not?
you
Get
can
them
get
for all
them
you
on.
can.
You know, whatever
Well,
you can
look,
get 'em on.
Jacob Fry and Tim Waltz, Brandon Johnson, the clown, it's Katie Wilson, whatever her name is, up there in Seattle. All of them need to be arrested for aiding and abetting felons. They're
I
aiding
agree.
and abetting. Any sanctuary city mayor and city council members must be arrested, and police chiefs in those sanctuary cities for aiding and abetting felons, because that's what they're doing. And it's time we stop letting the leftists lie about this. By crossing our border, it's not a minor offense. It's a felony. If it wasn't a felony, why do these people ditch their passports, all their identification, and then all pretend their name is Juan Valdez, a peaceful coffee grower from Colombia? Utter nonsense.
yeah.
They're felons, every one of them.
Well, he grows coffee and on the front 40, the back 40 is cocaine, just so you know.
Okay, I didn't know that.
I don't know. Yeah.
The coffee he's bringing across the country is masking the cocaine.
The cocaine, the dogs can't sniff it because the coffee's too strong.
Right.
Yeah. No, but look, I mean, it's a felony. People need to start calling it what it is. So I played a video of Barack Obama in 2006 and of Hillary Clinton after that. No, not Mitch McConnell. Hillary Clinton.
Schumer.
No. Barack Obama, then Hillary Clinton later on, 2006, then Hillary Clinton when she ran for the Senate, and then of Bill Clinton last year during Kamala Harris's campaign when he was out there campaigning for her and saying these aliens are criminals, they need to be out of the country. Barack Obama says, make no mistake, you come in our country illegally, you're a criminal. It's a felony.
Right.
You will be hunted down. You will be taken out of the country. This is Barack Hussein Obama in 2006. But the Democrats now think it's okay to invade our country. But before, because they don't care. It's just talking points to get elected because they sense where the sentiment is.
It's protecting the party's interest. The party creates an agenda, right? We talked about this before. You get the Brookings Institute and all these leftist think tanks. They create their agenda. Now you got these people like Hillary Clinton that used to talk against homosexuality and stuff or marriage. And all of a sudden, because the party said, "Oh no, we're backing that now," she backs it. She goes against.
Well, Barack Obama was against gay marriage before he was for it. It's like Swift Carey.
So was Hillary.
Carey.
Yeah. And this is the problem. These people are feckle. You know, they
have no morals. No morals. They are just arrogant, power hungry megalomaniacs. That's what they are. They don't care what the truth is. Look, people can change their views on things. When I was younger, I didn't have a position against abortion. But when I got to my late 20s and early 30s, I began to see the immorality of it and the fact that with my oath to support and defend the Constitution, it means to protect Americans. Right. That's an American in the womb. And that's murder.
Yes.
And my view changed. And my view changed on it because I had that realization. I never supported abortion, but I never was adamantly opposed to it.
Well,
but my point is that people could change their position. These aren't people change their positions. They never firmly held the position that these were illegals. They didn't care. They said what they needed to get in office and get levers of power. Exactly. And now Barack Hussein Obama gets $45 million a year because I pay $27 a month for Netflix, but not for much longer.
There you go. Yeah. When in my 20s, I didn't pay much attention to a lot of the major issues. It's like, I kind of generally knew what I believed in, but it's like, I wasn't paying attention to all these hot button issues. And I'm like, why is Republicans, Democrats getting so spun up over trivial things until I started paying attention to politics and realizing, oh, I see why they're getting spun up. Here's the issues and so on and so forth. And I realized I'm a Republican. You know, growing up, I didn't really necessarily know the difference until I just paid attention and started voting. And of course, my tax dollars as well started going up. And I'm like, yeah, I think I need to realize where I'm at here on the political spectrum.
Well, I didn't need tax dollars. I'm an early convert to conservatism as a young teenager. I mean, I was inspired by Ronald Reagan. And when I was 17, I was a freshman at university, and I ran one of my classmates' campaigns to become a city councilman in the city of Athens, Ohio. And as his campaign manager, I helped him get elected. First student ever in the history of Ohio University, nearly 200 years old at that time. First student ever to get on the city council as a young Republican at the age of 17. I wasn't even allowed to vote, but I ran his campaign.
So we're being asked if the U.S. has morning after treatment plans. I believe we do.
Yes.
But do you have to get that through a doctor?
It's
I know
a prescription, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Hassan was just making an argument about it. You should be able to order it in the mail and stuff like that. And she starts making claims about you got spouses beating up their wives so they have miscarriages. We got to have these. And I'm like, who beats up their wife because they want them to have a miscarriage, put their life in jeopardy?
Yeah, I don't think that's
if that's happening. He didn't value his wife in the first place. He was already beating on her.
Come on.
She says
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, look, you've got some wackadoodles up there in New Hampshire. Sometimes I wonder if it really is a conservative state. Some
Oh
of these
no,
idiots.
no, we have a lot of conservatism up here. You got to realize California does too. They're just drowned out.
Well, that's true. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
but when Kamala Harris gets 7 million votes and Donald Trump gets 4 million votes, that's a serious problem.
Yeah, well, you also get situations like I was looking at a guy in New York City. He says, "Oh yeah, I'm a conservative," but listen to him talk. You're like, "Are you sure?" And so their conservatives are kind of left. They're not really conservative.
Well, the Northeast are people like Bill Weld, and Mitt Romney, who's these are fake conservatives. They're Republicans and they're country club Republicans. They're not real conservatives. Look at Susan Collins. She betrayed us again tonight, and thankfully it was 50-50 vote, and so she lost, thankfully, in that War Powers resolution. That's big news.
I hear a lot of people say, "Well, I'm conservative on spending." But yet social, they want more leftist ideals. It's like you can't have both, bro. You're either conservative or you're not.
Well, you can have both, but that's what we get with the government we have. People trying to have everything. It doesn't work that way.
Exactly. There you go. Exactly.
Yeah. So you get sclerosis. You get legislative decay. You get stagnation, which is what we have. But the good news is we have the disruptor in chief in the White House, and this Energizer Bunny is just turning the clock back on all the stupidity. While we were here, the State Department announced just before we went live this evening that they will suspend immigrant visas from 75 countries. 75 countries will no longer be able to immigrate to America. Woo.
Well, let me ask you a question on those. Like, are they all the same color? I know the left's going to say, "Oh, they're all the same color," and that's why President Trump's, telling these people they can't come here. What are some of the countries there? What's the demographic makeup, if you don't mind?
Well, there are lots of people of color, okay, but
Sure.
also
But
Europeans.
it's not because of race, obviously. We know
No,
that.
but Europeans in here, and it also is half of Africa, but not the other half. So half the black folks can come, half of them can't. Half the Arabs can come, half of them can't. But there's 26 countries in Africa that are banned, but South Africa's not on there. And that's a country we're having a serious diplomatic issue with right now. But also Algeria, which is an Arabic country, Egypt, Arabic country. And let me see what else is on this list here. Morocco, that's 3 Arabic countries, and Tunisia. Basically, all of North Africa can't come here, but they're Arabs, and Arabs under our law are white. So there's white people excluded. In Europe, Albania, Armenia, Azerbaijan, these are all white people. They're black. Belarus, white people. Bosnia, white people, they're banned. What else we got here? We got Georgia, white people, they're banned. And Kosovo, white people banned. Kyrgyzstan, white people, mostly white people banned. Macedonia, white people banned. Montenegro, white people banned. Russia, white people banned. Lots of white people there. And yeah, there you go. And there's some Latin American countries. So there's a lot of countries with white people. So they could try the racism game, but they'll use Africa. Guarantee it. They'll look at all these African countries. And first off, the 26 include all of North Africa, which isn't black. So let's just start with that.
No,
but that's what they'll try, because they're so obvious in their nonsense. That's what they're going to try. And I'll have to cover this once I'm done here, because I'll do some production on my site, because this will be interesting.
I'd like to ask you about Greenland, man. What is with these European nations, Germany, and there's a handful of them now, Denmark, sending troops to Greenland in response to Trump's statement about...
oh, man. What we should do is be like, this is exactly what we want to avoid. European nations taking over Greenland, push them out.
Well, we should say that. But
that's the Monroe Doctrine, right?
Ooh, oh, man.
But
you're sending forces here.
But that's not really what's going on here. These are part of an exercise. And these German troops, it's just that they have refused to participate in the past. Now they want to participate. So I wouldn't get too hyped up about it.
This is a NATO exercise. It's not.
Yes, I wouldn't get too hyped out about it.
It was given as news as some kind of protest.
What side are you on, John? What are you looking at? Left?
No, I was reading some news earlier, and that's what they were talking about. And I'm going, this doesn't make sense, because it's exactly what Chris is saying. They're only sending a handful of troops. It's not like they're sending the whole military over.
Correct.
Well, yeah, of course not. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, it is what it is, and it's going to be okay. But, it's the Germans are participating finally. The problem is that NATO hasn't been willing to provide defense for Greenland, and that's one of Trump's points. That's what he's upset about.
That is true. I mean, for crying out loud, it's part of the NATO, and it's just sitting out there all by itself, looking ripe to be taken over, invaded, or
Greenland within itself is not part of NATO. They are part of NATO.
Well, they
Denmark,
fall under
right?
Denmark, right?
Because they're a territory of Denmark. So.
Denmark is part of NATO, so they would fall underneath that. Probably, I would imagine, by extension, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. That's correct. It is part of NATO, and that's what's going on here. So, yep.
There we go. Good stuff. We got about 8 minutes or so. How's 2026 treating both of you? What are your thoughts for the new year? Any specific goals you want to talk about?
Well, interesting enough, I'd like to continue growing my social media presence on my channel. Like to see it get up to 250,000 this year, although unless something really breaks big, I don't think that's going to happen, but we'll keep trying for that. And beyond that, interesting thing happened to me yesterday. I was interviewed by the largest newspaper on the planet, Japanese newspaper with a daily circulation of 5.9 million in print. They have 2 daily
Wow.
editions still, like back in the day, the newspapers had 2, a morning and evening edition. They still have a morning and evening edition. 5.9 million readers every day of their newspaper, not their website, their newspaper. It's the largest circulation newspaper in the world, and they interviewed me yesterday, so it was kind of exciting.
About
Very
South
cool.
Africa.
Very cool.
About South Africa and the refugee program. Yep.
Very cool. Interesting. Where
So
can
you
we
get-
find
you get
that?
some-
I'd love to see that.
Well, the articles, I think their deadline was today. We'll see if they got it done. I'm not sure if they got it done today, but
All right.
and
If you
they're
don't
gonna,
mind,
they're gonna, well,
there's
it's
a
going to
link,
be
you
in,
share it to us.
well, I'll be happy to share it to you, but there's going to be one problem. It'll be in Japanese.
That's all
Google
right.
has Google has
People can do the
translation.
translation. This is 21st
Yeah.
century, baby. We can translate.
Well, that's what I'm hoping for because I want to read it.
Yeah,
Right,
You
yeah.
you hit that ellipsis up there, the 3 dots, and they
Right.
got a translate button down there and change it to English. And
Well, I'll take your word on it. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I could do that with languages, but I haven't ever tried it with characters before.
it's not perfect. Sometimes you can tell the way it's worded that it doesn't sound exactly right. So
Right.
it depends on what language and stuff, but it's all artificial intelligence but you probably
John,
do well with it. So
John, what about you?
this year's going. I mean, we're only 2 weeks in, but work is slow for me. So this gets to be a hard time. I'm going to have to find some work, or I'm not going to stay fat much longer.
You're gonna thin out, huh?
Yeah.
Watch out.
I'm going to start thinning out. So yeah, that's my major concern right now. But I'm kind of like Chris. I'm trying to build some stuff, and I want to expand a little bit. As far as the social media presence goes, I haven't been working on it
Right.
the last few years, and in fact, I've depleted a lot because I just don't even post. I had no interest after COVID with Facebook and stuff. I'm like, why am I going to build something here?
Just they
if
can take it away.
You're just going to take it from me anyway. That's why I
Cool.
only got
Right,
like 60
for sure.
subscribers on YouTube, because I just don't care to try to grow it there, because they're just going to punish you later for it anyway.
Right.
So
You're
I
supposed
look
to be
for
fucking conservative. Right.
The good news is most of that censorship regime is rescinded for now while Trump's president. We'll see if it
only while
continues,
he's
but-
president. Yeah.
Exactly, while he's president. But when he's gone, we might be back to the same crap we had before.
Right.
So-
Right. Well, speaking of president, who do you think? I mean, I know it's a long ways away, but who do you think is going to start tipping their or stepping their toes into the water, if you will, the presidential waters?
Well, I'm sure Vance and Rubio will. And right now, my money, I'm actually not a fan, but becoming impressed by him. And that's Marco Rubio. His role as Secretary of State has been unbelievably impressive. I was never impressed with him as a senator.
Right.
I got to say that as a Secretary of State, the guy's decisive. He knows what he's talking about. He's getting things done. I mean, this 75 countries were banned from immigration. That's a brilliant move today. None of these countries should be sending anybody here as immigrants. We have no need for these immigrants, and we have enough illegal immigrants from most of these countries who need to go back. So, look, I think he's getting himself an edge here because he's getting all this attention. And has also proven to be quite impressive as a leader, which I never saw from him before. But Vance is definitely going to run, and then we'll probably have a couple other people jump in the mix at some point.
Yeah, you think Pence is going to jump in there as well? You think?
Nobody's going to pay it. Mike Pence is
He's
done.
done.
Okay, that's what I think. That's what I'm thinking. I'm just thinking he may tip his hat early or test Iowa perhaps.
He's toast. He's not going anywhere. So it's done for Mike
I
Pence.
agree with that assessment. I don't think he's going to do anything ever again. I don't think Bondi will ever run for anything.
No, she's an appointee, a senior appointee type person down. She's not going to run for anything.
If the rumors get truthful, she's in a little jeopardy right now. People are not happy with her in the Trump administration.
Oh, absolutely.
I got to tell you, I'm not seeing a lot from her.
The guest we had a couple of weeks ago, Kent Gray, he had Marco Rubio many times years ago as a motorcade driver. He's like, yeah, the most successful, best motorcade driver I've ever had. And it's funny, as a number of trips in Florida with Kent, like Marco would be nearby. He'd kind of wave over at Kent, be like, hey, Kent. And you'd see him across the tarmac just waving at him. He'd like, hey, motorcade driver, senator, whatever, It's kind of funny. But Yeah, just you never know where you're going to go. Some of these young kids that you deal with out on the road, where they're going to end up, and they may be the next president. Well, who knows?
Somebody's saying Caroline Levitt for president. She's sharp. She is for a young woman. She's very mature and sharp.
All right. Well, first off, before we get too carried away on that, okay, she is a communicator and she's effective at it. That doesn't mean she knows how to lead or make decisions.
No, definitely not.
People get carried away. That's how Barack Hussein Obama became president. Oh, look how effective his communicator is. And until people woke up and realized that the man is ignorant, he can only read a teleprompter. If there's no teleprompter, he's completely lost. Yes, these 57 states in America. What the heck?
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, Caroline, she's got she's got a wealth of knowledge in the communication world. I mean, she does great at it. I don't see her, being some CEO anywhere, but
she hasn't shown any leadership skills.
Who knows?
No, I'm just saying she's sharp as far as she's.
Oh, for sure, yeah, for sure. Yeah, a lot of PR type people are really good at talking in front of people and throwing out things and being able to regurgitate facts. But as far as coming up with original ideas, I'm not saying she doesn't, but original ideas, that's not really what they do. That's not their specialty, if you will.
So you think Rubio and Vance will run against one another, and
yes.
One will become the other one's VP once it's determined?
That's a very distinct possibility. VP candidate. I agree with that 100%.
Because there's the two that really stand out there.
Not unprecedented in our republic. Of course, you go back to Adams and Jefferson right off the bat. That second presidential race outside of Washington.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, that's a very real possibility. Well, interesting guest tonight, and I found the conversation fascinating to talk to him. But breaking news was interesting too. The War Powers Resolution defeated. Now 75 countries banned from immigrating here. I mean, look, guys, it's I guess Wednesday nights tonight. Things tend to break while we're online, while we're broadcasting on the radio.
Everything comes out. I love it. Midweek.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Trump saves the hard decisions for Friday.
Right.
Let people stew over it over the weekend, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. It's so they kind of puts them in. They're on their back foot trying to recover the whole weekend after they get bombed or they get blocked or they get people start fleeing from their country. Yeah, no, it's we'll see what happens this Friday, but there's nothing happening in Iran at this hour, and it's coming up towards morning there now. So
expect maybe something if the next day. Who knows, right?
Yeah, because if it happens, it's going to happen at night.
Right, absolutely. When we
own
the night, so
exactly, we own the night, even if it's a raid.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I remember doing things at night. Nothing clear what these guys have, the equipment, but just being able to see everything. And it's like, you get guys try to dart out in the middle of the night. It's like, I see you're running. I know where you're going. We're going to catch you. Anyway, it's just kind of funny.
It's 5:28 because it's GMT plus 3.5 hours. 5:28 right now. So in Tehran. So the sun will be coming up shortly. And there you go. All right,
there we go, folks. We'll be back next week, right time, right here, 7 to 9 Eastern on WSM. Until then, take care and God bless everyone.